as we gather here to celebrate today, bathed in memories of those who've passed this way. We're reflections of our directions, those we've known and grown from on the way. Join us as we celebrate today. Listen to our hearts and they will say, as our love takes to the wind and flies, we celebrate these lives. We celebrate these lives. So with thoughts of you held safe within our hearts, like the morning sun when evening's chill departs, we'll forever be together as the music like our future starts. Join us as we celebrate today. Listen to our hearts and they will say, as our love takes to the wind and flies, we celebrate these lives. We celebrate these lives.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Iowa City Hospice's Time of Remembrance Spring Memorial Service for this year, 2022. A special thank you to Rhonda, one of our hospice music therapists, for that opening song. My name is Kara, and I am the Psychosocial Services Manager at Iowa City Hospice. We are so pleased to see all of you here today. These last couple years have undoubtedly impacted us all, particularly with how we have grieved. And we are grateful to be physically present together today. We are glad to offer this opportunity to you to remember and honor your loved ones that you have lost. Coping with and navigating a loss can already be challenging. And we acknowledge the additional burden that the ongoing pandemic adds to each of your journeys. We hold each of you in our hearts while we navigate, and you navigate your own loss during these complex times. We will hear next from our bereavement counselor, Ed, who will share a reflection with us. We will then hear the reading of your loved ones' names. Rhonda will then share another song with us, and then we will conclude our service. We hope you will all consider staying with us for the walk portion of our events today. We all join you in walking in remembrance of those who have died.
We're gathered here today honoring the loss of ones dear to us. Now, we might consider coming together in this way as an instinct, certainly a human instinct, but it's one that seems more universal than our own. Now, I realize I'm at ground zero of Hawkeye territory, but indulge me, forgive me, I'm going to bring up the matter of badgers. I do so because there have been reports of gatherings of badgers following the death of a particular mate. They slowly form a circle. They've even been known to utter low, moaning sounds. In an essay entitled The Judgment of the Birds, Lauren Isley related witnessing a similar phenomenon that went beyond animals protesting death to seemingly proclaiming life. He hastened to declare that he didn't seek out the experience. It happened by chance. He'd been traveling over a mountain for half a day. He sat down to rest, his back against a stump. Though he looked out over a small glade, he himself was hidden from view. It was warm. He was tired, and he soon fell asleep. A cry awoke him. He looked out into the glade, now bathed in a shafting light that gave the opening the illusion of a cathedral. And there, on a dead branch protruding into the glade, he saw a nestling squirming in the beak of an enormous raven. The sound that awoke me, he wrote, was the outraged cries of the nestling's parents, who flew helplessly in circles about the clearing. The sleek black monster was indifferent to them. It gulped, wetted its beak on the dead branch for a moment, and sat still. Up until that point, the little tragedy had followed the usual pattern. But suddenly, out of that area of the woodland, a soft sound of protest began to rise. Into the glade fluttered small birds of a half-dozen varieties, drawn by the anguished outcries of the tiny parents. No one dared to attack the raven, but they cried there in some instinctive, common plight, the bereaved and the unbereaved. The glade filled with their soft rustlings and their cries. They fluttered as though to point their wings at the murderer. There was a dim, intangible ethic it had violated. That they knew. It was a bird of death. And the murderer, the black bird at the heart of life, sat there, glistening in the common light, formidable, unmoving, unperturbed, untouchable. The sighing died. It was then that I saw the judgment. It was the judgment of life against death. I will never see it again so forcefully presented. I will never hear again notes so tragically prolonged. For in the midst of protest, they forgot the violence. There in the clearing, the crystal note of a song sparrow lifted hesitantly into the hush. And finally, after painful fluttering, another took the song, and then another, the song passing from one bird to another, doubtfully at first, as though some evil thing were being slowly forgotten. Till suddenly they took heart and sang from many throats, joyously together, as birds are known to sing. They sang because life is sweet, sunlight beautiful. They sang under the brooding shadow of the raven. In simple truth, they had forgotten the raven, for they were singers of life, not of death. Though we too are gathered in the shadow of death, and we must protest that ones we have known and loved are dead. Let us also always be those singers of life, because weighing life and death, we too must conclude that life is sweet, sunlight beautiful. In her poem, The Cost, Dorothy Monroe weighed the gains of living against inevitable death and concluded that whatever fate demanded in return for life, she'd give. Death is not too high a price to pay for having lived. Mountains never die, nor do the seas or rocks or endless sky. Through countless centuries of time, they stay eternal, deathless. Yet they never live. If choice there were, I would not hesitate to choose mortality. Whatever fate demanded in return for life, I'd give. For never to have seen the fertile plains, nor heard the winds, nor felt the warm sun on sands beside the salty sea, nor touched the hands of those I love. Without these, all the gains of timelessness would not be worth one day of living and of loving, come what may. I would invite us all to just take a moment for silent reflection upon the meaning of life, upon those particular lives we recall. Remember them as they lived. Remember how their lives touched yours and filled our common world. Those who understand and have a clear vision of how a human life, indeed each living thing, fits into the scheme of creation, arching beyond our little planet, further than our solar system, the myriad stars of our galaxy, to include all the reaches of the cosmos. They are comforted and sustained by the dispassionate beauty of creation, and it strangely stirs the passions of our heart. This beauty, for those who see it, never dies. Perhaps it's why our hearts and minds respond so well to these words that seem so true when we remember the beauty of each of these lives recalled today. The beauty of each of these lives was and is one with the beauty of creation, in life and in death. So, do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glint on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn, springtime rain. When you wake in the morning hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the soft starlight at night. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I would like to invite one of our social workers, Denise Caney, to come now and to read the names of those we especially remember this day.
Teresa Schwarting, Milford Schwarting, Christy Toma, Thelma Miles, Richard Hansen, Lucy Hornbeck, Charles Abernathy, Clarence Tharp, Larry Kasperick, Doris Bouchard, Connie French, Charles Plate, Yvonne Atwood, Don Ernest, Ron Milder, June Heaney, Lorraine Hagee, John Milder, John Kashmar, Edward Shebeck, Joan Shebeck, Paul Shebeck, Georgia Casper, Arlen Worth, Stephanie Burton.
I should have said that the first song was written by a music therapist that works in end-of-life care in another part of the United States. And this one is one I've written called Walking Each Other Home. I read a Ram Dass quote once that said, "We're all just walking each other home," and that's what kind of prompted the song. And then I wrote a special verse for today. Walking each other home, walking each other home. We are all just walking each other home. Walking each other home, walking each other home. At the end of the day, we're walking each other home. Remembering you with smiles, laughter and tears. You are missed, your death has left a hole. The world is not the same without you here. We carry you forever in our hearts. Walking each other home, walking each other home. We are all just walking each other home. Walking each other home, walking each other home. At the end of the day, we're walking each other home.
Having remembered these lives, having considered their lives in this grand scheme, we accept the loss, knowing that life continues, richer for their having lived among us. It's a natural miracle, one that repeats. We should always celebrate that the disparate, seemingly soulless elements, they come together, become living, loving persons that we know. These lives touched others, shaped our common world. The force of their personality, the truth and the love of their lives was part of this onward urge of life. We are, and we are more, because they lived. And we are glad that they lived. We know that death and love are inextricably joined together. For human beings, that reality transcends the merely biological. Because we're creatures of memory, our loves never end, but pass from person to person. That tree of life, so often alluded to in tradition, is the symbolic tree of generation following generation, from time into time. And we can proclaim that their names have been inscribed upon that tree of life forever. Friends, receive these words of William Cullen Bryans as a benediction. When you are troubled about your loved one's death, or when your hurt over your loss is too great, or when the shadow of death casts a pallor over your spirit, remember these words. Go forth under the open sky and list to nature's teachings, while from all around, earth and her waters and the depths of air, comes a still voice.
Thank you all for joining us. This concludes our service today. If you missed your opportunity, you still have another opportunity to go ahead and tie a ribbon on our wreath. We display those in our office as well. We like to remember your loved ones as well. Also, the walk begins at 1 o'clock. The starting line is right here where these flags are, and we typically line up here along the path back behind it. So we hope to see you for the walk as well. Thank you.